One of the really great things about being your vicar is that I get to see just about everything that goes on in this church and community. Just about everything. Or maybe that makes it a mixed blessing. Actually, it is a blessing. It's an unadulterated blessing. And so let me tell you right now a few of the amazing things that I have seen since I've been in this community with you. I have seen our community rally around someone who has lost so much this year, so many family members, and is even actually losing her sight. She has been in a dark place, one in which the light seems to get in only to be snuffed out by something new. But she has not been there alone. People have visited her, people have brought her here, people have made her with us, not alone. And because of that, I know that she has seen the light of Christ. I've seen someone who was laid flat on her back with a leg injury, and I've seen her walk again. Now, there is no doubt that excellent medical care made a lot of that literally possible, the actual walking. But you know what? Walking is not just walking. It's not just moving your legs and balancing. Walking involves wanting to walk. Walking involves moving forward in hope. And walking like that, walking forward in hope, takes help. It takes help when you've been hurt so bad and you feel so low and everything is so hard. And I have seen the love of this community give strength and give hope so that walking could be more than just moving. It could be thriving. I get to spend time with Seddon. And in so doing, I see recent immigrants, many of whom are working multiple crummy, hard jobs. When we had Thanksgiving with them, and we had a service and then dinner, I was sitting at the table with somebody talking to him, and he was going to work after the dinner. He cleans movie theaters. And so somebody has to do that when the movie theater is shut down, even on Thanksgiving. And I've seen them doing these hard jobs, and I've seen them facing racism, facing a country that often calls them nothing but illegal, as if a person could be illegal rather than an act. And I've seen them here recognized as humans. And I've seen them made safe. They feel safe, and they feel welcome. I've seen them who have been outcasts from so many places realize that there might actually be a place for them and for their children in God's creation. I have seen kids who probably could not believe that they would have any real future, any real options that are hopeful and exciting. I've seen them open their ears and realize what God actually intends for them. They may have been able to hear quite well, our young folks, or the rest of us, the hearing part gets a little more difficult, but they may have been able to hear, but hearing is one thing, and hearing God's desire for you is another thing. I think maybe the latter is even more important when you're young and you're just about to start out. And I've seen young ears open up as they realize that maybe they are worth something, just maybe. And then maybe getting the education they need for a full life is something that they can do and want to do and will be able to do. I've seen people who may not have actually died, who may have been alive, but whose souls were full of despair and sorrow, and I have seen them come back to life. It happens in the parish hall. It happens in hospital rooms. It happens in homes when people see the love of God made manifest in our love for each other. And when that happens, people come back to life. They really do. And I have seen the relief on the faces of hungry people when they have been fed by your food, by food that we have brought out on snowy nights to the homebound poor who would not eat if it were not for the passion of our people, of you, to feed the world. Archbishop Desmond Tutu of South Africa, great Anglican archbishop, inspirational figure, said that he never preached a social gospel. He preached the gospel, period. Because good news to a hungry person is bread. I have seen the poor receive the best news possible, that they deserve to be fed, that they will be fed. Jesus said, "Go and tell John what you hear and see. The blind receive their sight, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the poor have good news brought to them." This was the good news that Jesus brought. Jesus didn't simply come into the world at Christmas in order to be a lovely baby in a lovely nativity scene, although that's nice. Jesus came into the world to bring the good news, to be the good news. The good news that the blind see and the lame walk, the lepers, the outcasts. At the time of Jesus, the lepers were the biggest outcasts. They weren't people, they were lepers. And they weren't allowed to be with other people. They were made clean. They were made part of society. They were given a place. The deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the poor hear good news. That is what Jesus preached, and that is what he came for. And Jesus, this is what we remember in Advent, is that Jesus is always coming into the world. That's the theme of Advent. We are now reminded of who Jesus was, and we are reminded that he is returning. He is returning. And we see him here. Every time we care for someone who sits in darkness. Every time we give hope to someone who is struggling. Every time we welcome the stranger. Every time we welcome the outcast. Every time we comfort the sorrowful. Every time we give a young person hope. Every time we feed the hungry, Jesus is coming back. The blind receive their sight. The lame walk. The lepers are cleansed. The deaf hear. The dead are raised. The poor have good news brought to them. This Advent, let's imagine something that's actually real. That Jesus is here. Jesus is here. He is coming back. He is with us. If you are sorrowful, if you are sorrowful, that's understandable. But reach out. Reach out like John the Baptist, who was feeling pretty low. Reach out to God, to Jesus, and above all, to all of us. And if you are joyful, grab those hands that are reaching out. Look for those hands in the world and grab them and take them. Visit someone. Tell them how much you care. Tell them how much they are worth. Welcome a stranger. Show them God's love. by just being who you already are. Let us all remember that the words Jesus speaks and that we hear today, he speaks them in the present tense. The blind are receiving their sight. This is what the Greek is literally translated as. The blind are receiving their sight. The lame are walking. The lepers are being cleansed. The deaf are hearing. The dead are being raised. And the poor are hearing good news. As it was in the beginning, is now, and will be forever. Amen.
Amen.